So, as I was sitting in a screening room on the Sony lot Saturday night watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you were at the Ace downtown doing the Boogie Nights screening with Larry.
Which is kind of weird, isn't it?
And it struck me while watching it that basically Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Tarantino's Boogie Nights. There's a real tandem between P.T. Anderson and Tarantino on those. They're both nostalgic films about certainly the film industry, different aspects of the film industry, but they also they just connect to a lot of they capture a time and place. They're kind of doing, and they're both talking about family.
Yeah. Oh, they're both about family. PT is being very specific. Brad is being a little bit more broad. Yeah. PT shooting in '96. The film came out in '97, but mostly set in '77. Works its way up to about 80, 81, 82, something like that.
Yeah.
And then of course Brad, 1969. Yeah. Hollywood, and it's really sort of interesting because watching Boogie Nights, which is hysterical, by the way.
It's still funny.
It's just so funny. I forgot how funny that movie was.
Yeah.
I forgot how many people are gone, too, by the way. Philip Seymour is gone.
Yeah.
Robert Ridgely is gone. Michael Chase is gone, but not
Burt
exactly
Reynolds
gone. Burt is gone.
Who was supposed to be in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Oh, really? Oh, was
he? He was supposed to play Spawn. He was, and he when he died, that's when they cast. They went and cast.
What's his name?
Bruce Dern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out at the Spawn Ranch. Yeah. Man, and just so that was how many careers got made from that movie. I mean, these people were people, but they weren't who they were until after this movie. Don Cheadle, Michael Jace, Ari Nicole Parker.
Yeah.
How many people got made by that movie is just really amazing. And the other interesting thing is what a baby face. I think Mark Wahlberg was probably 26, 27. Yep. I think PTA like was about 26 when he was making the movie. These people were ridiculously young. $15 million movie. Of course, Burt and PTA did not get along.
I know.
Thomas Jane in that movie. Before they had made their bones. So what are you going to do? It's just really, really good stuff.
Well, I was even telling you that on my way over here, I started. So there's a review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on the DigiGods.com page. Ray Green wrote it. Ray gave it very thoughtful. I initially agreed with all of Ray's points, but the more I think about it, the more that movie kind of sinks into my skin, because Quentin and I sort of had somewhat parallel upbringings. He's older, but all the same TV shows, same era, both in Los Angeles. His recreation of everything from those years is exactly what I remember. It's exactly what I remember. The hip girls in Hollywood and Supply Sergeant and all the theaters and the just Bruce Lee. It's Westwood, the Bruin, and the Village.
Oh, it's just
it's just a beautiful thing.
What's interesting, Bridge and I arrived here literally January 1, 1990. Much of L.A., Hollywood, L.A. was the same in 1990 as it had been in 1969-70. So 20 years on, and then it was middle 90s, late 90s when the first wave, because there were a couple of waves of gentrification in Hollywood. Remember when they put in the Galaxy and all that stuff? Yeah. Might have been early 2000s, late 90s.
Sure, I think
Mike Wu was the
98, 99.
That didn't take.
No.
They knocked all that down, and then they did the Hollywood and Highland stuff middle 2000s. Yeah. And then that finally took, and thus the proper gentrification of Hollywood. But 1990, corner guy near Yucca and Cherokee or whatever. I got mugged on that corner like 1994 or whatever. So all of that was just one of the Vogue Theater, how it used to stick out over Musso and Frank's there.
Yep.
All of that, right. Cinerama Dome. Of course, the Dome back then, behind it, just that parking lot. Remember?
That's right.
Just that dirt parking lot.
That's right.
We would park in all the time. Which they didn't, he didn't want to use a lot of CGI in this movie to take things out. Because you start to notice, when they see. So he just shot tight. Around the dome rather than getting big. But it works.
It totally works. Yeah, I remember that so well. I remember going and parking in that big old giant ramshackle parking lot to see E.T. at the Dome.
Yeah. For years we saw screenings there. Screenings at the Dome, screenings at the Bruin, and I can't think of how many movies we saw at the Bruin because they're across the street from one another. Across the street from one another. And nostalgia. But look, love this movie.
It is great.
I do think in order to deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate this movie, you got to be 45 plus.
More than that.
You know, you got to be creeping up on 50.
Got to be 50.
Because who knows who Jay Sebring is?
Yeah, you got to be 50 or over, or you have to be such a nostalgia nut that you've kind of gone back to that and you've revisited that and you have enough of an awareness.
Yeah.
Right. But you do need to have a grasp of that moment, that snapshot in time, 1969 to about 1971.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the Manson murders.
Oh man,
I remember it.
I can imagine. I remember them, and they were just news where I was in St. Louis.
I remember we had ordinary locks on our doors until the Manson murders, and then I remember the handyman coming over and installing double locks on every door.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
I remember that. And for years, I looked at those double locks, and I thought of Charles Manson.
Yeah, man.
It did. That's what it did to the psyche of Los Angeles.
Yeah. It was a deep, deep thing. And of course, what's his name? Burler, the guy that wrote Helter Skelter.
Yeah,
who was the
DA. The DA. Yeah.
Down here, and that book was a big old hit. The best joke in the movie, to me though.
Yeah.
Leonardo goes off to Italy to make some Italian films. So, Clint Eastwood style. He's kind of playing a guy who's like a sort of quasi-failed Clint Eastwood type. Yeah. And, of course, he goes to make movies with the second best Italian director, is what Pacino says. He's got the second best, who, of course, is Sergio Corbucci.
Yeah.
Who, of course, created the Django series of movies. And this is just like a beautiful joke.
It is.
It's just this beautiful, beautiful joke. And, if you get those, but again, you got to know who Sergio Corbucci is in order for that joke to just that he really was the second best.
He's still around.
Yeah. So neat.
Well. Anyway, we're gonna get kicking in here. A lot of things, obviously within the film is the Tarantino film is being released literally within weeks of the 50th anniversary of the Manson slayings. August 8th and 9th is just a week and a half away. But it's also been the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, and that was a big old thing. Yeah. And we had some on the last couple of shows. Got some other space oriented stuff that's kind of dovetailing with it. This is more general, but we've got a Blu-ray and digital combination set, NASA: A Journey Through Space, which is from Mill Creek, and this is just a really nice 2-disc set that includes 7 parts of a documentary series about the history of NASA. And it obviously is going to be obsolete in about 18 seconds as soon as NASA does something else, but that's okay. The history is still the history, and the history matters, and it is rather extraordinary, to think that they made so much progress between 1957, the launching of Sputnik, and 1969, landing a man on the moon. Let's think about that. In 12 years, you went from the first satellite to putting a man on the moon. 12 years, space race in 12 years. We can't even fix HTML in 12 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. That was so accelerated that in 1968, Stanley Kubrick very realistically thought, oh, yeah, by 2001, we'll totally have, commercial trips to the moon and a moon base and the whole thing. That was totally realistic. Yeah. And then, of course, everything just kind of ground to a halt. Yeah. We put a man on the moon, and now we can rest on our laurels. So it's a really interesting history to revisit. And then equally important is a NASA-endorsed release also from Mill Creek on 4K. This is Mill Creek's first 4K. I want to point out Mill Creek has taken the jump into 4K with the IMAX-enhanced Space Station. The original IMAX film with Tom Cruise narrating. And this is this played IMAX for a long time, made a ton of money. And this is all about the International Space Station and its building and how it came together. And, yes, it is originally shot in IMAX, so it's not going to look quite the same on your 4K TV, but it's still going to look amazing. It really, really does. It's and that space station is so much more impressive than I think we give it credit for, and what it has done and how it has opened up all of our eyes onto the universe. It is
really
a
funny
amazing
thing when we talk about because we talk about the space stations, we talk about the shuttle program, talk about Apollo, particularly this time of the. But you know what? No one ever talks about the space undertaking. We even talk about those rovers, and they were amazing, all of that. Yeah. But the space achievement that people don't talk about that I always found fascinating was Skylab.
Yeah, for
Nobody
sure.
talks about Skylab.
That's true.
And it, and which of course was thought of a space station. And then of course
it was the first one. Yeah.
And it had that thing where it joined up with that Russian Soyuz thing. That was a joint thing that we did not. It really sort of set the tone for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was in I'm gonna say 77 when because the orbit depleted.
Yeah.
And Skylab came down mostly over Australia and some ocean or something like that. And I don't know, it just sort of went away from the zeitgeist. People forget about it. There were cartoons.
It's true.
That involved, Skylab. But nobody ever mentioned Skylab anymore and the astronauts who were on that. Anyway, shout out for Skylab.
Totally. Absolute shout out for Skylab. Got some other docs here too, a couple of military docs. One is called Forgotten Heroes, the Robert Hartsock story. Which is, who's Robert Hartsock? That's going to be everybody's first reaction. And this is the story of dogs in Vietnam, believe it or not. And it's really utterly unbelievable. And it sort of opens up a whole story of Vietnam that I never even knew before. Did you know that there were over 4,000 dogs and handlers in Vietnam?
No, like military dogs.
Like military dogs, yeah.
Had no idea.
And it's absolutely extraordinary. Robert Hartsock is, I don't want to give it away, but Robert Hartsock is a significant. He was decorated with the Medal of Honor because of something that involves dogs. That's all I'll say. And it's a pretty extraordinary. It's just kind of it's a peripheral story. It's not central to the Vietnam War, but it's still an amazing story. So if you want to see a story of heroism, a story about an aspect of the Vietnam War that you had no idea even existed, by all means check it out. It's really, really good. Got another documentary, Unforgotten: A Hero's Story of War, by Darren Dick is the filmmaker. And this is all about it's a very personal story. His grandfather was named Harold Bauer, and he was a Korean War veteran. And this is an exploration of family, an exploration of heroism, really kind of delving into who his grandfather was, and when he's still alive, they visit the Korean War Memorial together, and it's quite touching. I wish it were a little longer. It's only an hour long. This is from Virgil Films, but it's very, very, very touching. And I am pretty sure. I think I heard his grandfather had passed. It's possible he's still around, but I thought I had heard that he had passed. If he has not, I apologize for that. But anyway, Darren Dick, wonderful, wonderful documentary about his grandfather, a hero in the Korean War. And then some music stuff here. One other thing that's really not, before I get into it, it's not really music, but this is we don't often get these unusual kind of experimental releases. Icarus has released something that, for people who do like experimental film and kind of avant-garde, this is a really interesting thing. It's called Minute Bodies, The Intimate World of F. Percy Smith. The documentarian here is Stuart Staples, and he is a documentarian, but he's also, in this case, Stuart Staples is also the lead singer of a band called the Tindersticks. And this is a tribute to another filmmaker, F. Percy Smith, that I had never heard of before, who is also kind of an all-around Renaissance man, and did some very aggressive pioneering work with cameras and lenses, and trying to do what is much easier today with these high-speed cameras and lenses that can do microscopic photography and everything. And what he wanted to do was really push the cinematographic envelope to be able to capture the world of amoebas and microscopic stuff, right? Really just really get down in there. And so this is a really interesting kind of musical and visual collage that is a tribute to a filmmaker from another filmmaker and a musician. And it's really very interesting. It's really, really very compelling. It also includes 4 short films that F. Percy Smith had made, so that you get more than just what's in the film itself. And this is sharp. It's on Blu-ray. It's also only about an hour long, just under. and it's called Minute Bodies: The Intimate World of F. Percy Smith, and it'll stir you and inspire you. La Fresque, with choreography by Angeline Prelyocage, Angeline Prelyocage, and the ballet Prelyocage, is from Naxos and Telmondis. This is basically a it's called La Fresque is otherwise known as the painting on the wall, which is a traditional Chinese story that has been interpreted here as kind of modern ballet. Very, very nicely done. Great choreography. It's a little bit ballet, a little bit modern dance, but it's really, really cool, and that's on Blu-ray. We also have the opera Giulietta Romeo by Nicola Vacage, or Nicola. I forget. You pronounce it one way for a man, one way for a woman. I'm never quite clear on that. This is from Dynamic and Naxos. Not an opera I've ever heard of. It's a 2-act tragedy, but the music's nice, singing's nice. Fair enough. This was recorded in 2018, so the audio is absolutely superb. Also, La Passion selon Marc, which is a very, very... This is from Bel Air. This is on Blu-ray. This is a... Oh, how would I put this? It is a religious... It's almost like a liturgical memorial to Auschwitz, if that even makes sense. But it was written in memory, obviously, of those who perished in Auschwitz and in the Holocaust. And it was performed in April of 2017. Originally made for Swiss television, and it is a lovely, lovely, lovely composition, and carries a real kind of very heavy-handed historical memory with it. This is performed by the Chamber Orchestra and Vocal Ensemble of Lausanne in Switzerland, where I once lived. So it's very personal to me as well. And it comes in a very nice white keep case, which is in keeping sort of with the redemptive quality of the thing. And then lastly, on the music front, CMA Awards Live. We've done a number of these in the past. This is the greatest moments from 1968 to 2015. Country music. I'm in the mood for Garth Brooks once in a while. Why not? Who isn't? But I don't really watch the CMAs. It's not a thing that I do. And so, putting it all together here in a 10 DVD set, you realize there's a lot of great country music out there, and I kind of feel like I've been missing out a little bit. But yeah, this is from 1968 all the way to just 4 years ago. Covers the entire history of country music. It's not even really about the CMAs. It's about everybody. And Merle Haggard performs here. Alabama, which is something I grew up on. Chris Christopherson, right up to stuff like Lady Antebellum, and there's even some great Glenn Campbell stuff here. Did you know that Julio Iglesias sang at the CMAs?
No.
Isn't that weird?
I can't imagine why Julio Iglesias sang at the CMA. Eventually, everybody goes to country. We'll tell him to Oz. Yeah. Everybody goes to country eventually.
Remember, he did a duet with Willie Nelson.
Yes, of course. That's the cred. That's the cred right there. That's the cred.
Yeah. That's crazy. Cred. So, CMA Awards Live, always a musical surprise. A much more diverse collection of performances than you would ever really expect.
Yeah.
All right.
A few newbies?
Yeah, let's do some new movies.
Hellboy.
I like this Hellboy, and I defend it.
You defend the reboot did not do very well.
I know it tanked.
It tanked pretty bad. Although I love David Harbour's casting as Hellboy from Stranger Things. That was the best part of this Hellboy. In any case, didn't do that well, but I imagine fans are going to be fans.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got everything here. The Ultra HD, you got your Blu-ray, you got your DVD on this fairly nice package, which includes Tales of the Wild Hunt, Hellboy Reborn, a 3-part documentary with a lot of the things, all kinds of neat stuff there. So if you're a fan, you're going to be a fan of the Hellboy. Why do you think it didn't do so well?
So I think a number of things. Because a lot of people love Guillermo. I mean, look, everyone loves Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
And the first two were both del Toro films, and he was prepared to do a third. And I think a lot of people had themselves wrapped around a trilogy. And then it didn't happen, and it turned into a reboot instead. And they stuck David Harbour in there to take over the part, which I think a lot of people felt that Ron Perlman owned that part and should have been there.
He aged out of it.
He did age out of it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, look, Hellboy is never going to be a long-standing franchise. You're not going to. I think it's a mistake to think you can squeeze 10 or 12 Hellboy movies out. You can't.
Yeah.
Hellboy is a very limited thing. So I kind of felt like the whole Hellboy idea had played out in 2 films. I thought the second one was really, really stretched pretty thin. And I was over it. And I was like, okay, we've done Hellboy for the movies. Goodbye. So I was skeptical about, oh, really, you're going to reboot that? What are you possibly going to do with Hellboy that you didn't do the first 2 times? What could you possibly do? Well, what they did was they made it R-rated. And they made it campier. They went further and farther with it. It's a little gorier. It's a little meaner, and I felt like it's more in a vein that I appreciated. I appreciate the really dark humor.
Which was, I suppose, more akin to the actual
to the
graphic novel in the first place. It was, all of those things are a little bit darker than this fiction.
So from that standpoint, I thought, all right, good. I'm down with that, and so I appreciate that. Do I think they can squeeze another one out of it? Well, no. Even if it had been successful, I think you're still stretching it. But I appreciated that they went for it a little bit, as opposed to just trying to rehash the thing. So I thought there was some risk involved. Didn't pan out, but I respect what they were doing.
Origin story is a little bit different in this Hellboy than it had been in the other one, too.
Yeah.
Uglydolls, man, star-studded cast in this. Voices from everywhere. It's a cute little film, I thought. A little frenetic for me. Insanely colorful. I mean, the colors just popped off the screen from this animation. Here you got Kelly Clarkson. You got Nick Jonas. You got Janelle Monáe. You got Blake Shelton. You got Pitbull. You got Wanda Sykes. And Gabrielle Iglesias. Speaking of the Iglesiases. Everybody's singing and dancing and jumping around. Basically, it's a story about this little town called Uglyville, where all the dolls are not attractive, not perfect, 2 heads, 1 eye, all that kind of wacky stuff. They discover a place called Perfection, where everyone is perfect. And ultimately, it's about how, I suppose, you don't have to be perfect in the world to still be valuable. Considering you and I both wear glasses.
Yeah.
I guess we know how that goes. This is cute. This is the sing-along edition. So I don't know. What age range do you think? I mean, I know what they say on this. But what do you think? Would Hero tap into this?
Yeah, maybe a little, but not too much. She likes Jack more these
Jack
days. She's back on a Jack kick.
A little bit more action.
Yeah, up to 8.
8.
Yeah, tops. What's it say? What's recommended?
It says between 6 and about 8. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Bonus features: the making of Uglydolls, fun with the cast, and again, it's the sing-along version of it, so you can have some fun with the kids.
Fair enough.
Doing that one, Project Ithaca was a fairly interesting conceived science fiction, little science fiction movie here that I kind of dug the theme of. Anyway, the idea is that there are these terrible aliens, malevolent aliens have been just abducting people for years and years and years and years, maybe even centuries, right? What they want to do is harvest human energy.
Ew.
And then they're going to use it to open a wormhole, pass through the wormhole, and take over the world. Hey, look, it's a classic storyline. The scientists create a human-alien hybrid, and they send her through the wormhole to inject her human stuff on the other side. It's going to jack them all up. That's a classic story. This is mostly just a movie that they shot on a set with some fairly decent special effects. That's all that's going on here. But you know what? Kind of worked.
Yeah, good props to him.
Fun for me.
Props to
this
him.
is just a DVD. Not much going on otherwise. You got a couple
let me hit some kid vid here. Got a couple from Sesame Street. Awesome Alphabet Collection. I know, every adult listening is like, oh, yeah. I can be into that. This is just 3 shows helping kids learn their alphabets. And it's fine, you got Elmo and Abby and all the usual things. It's fine. The guest stars here are the ones that'll keep the adults from actually throwing things at the television. Nora Jones and Sheryl Crow and Pharrell Williams and Maya Angelou comes by and gives, some hugs. Oh. It's really sweet. Ricky Gervais somehow is appropriate for Sesame Street. I'm not quite sure,
okay.
But and then on a lighter note, Dance Party, which really has no educational value to it whatsoever. It's just a lot of dancing, but it's a lot of dancing with Elmo, basically. But again, it's about the guest appearances here: Naomi Watts and Liev Schreiber and Jason Derulo and Janelle Monáe, and it's a lot of fun. So if Sesame Street continues to milk their stuff pretty well. PBS is where you get the better educational stuff. Ready, Jet, Go. Mm-hmm. Not a show that my daughter particularly responds to, but it's got a little sci-fi element to it, and it's they got three very Apollo timely episodes on this one, which is called One Small Step. And if you're trying to teach kids about moon landing and space, this is good. There's some good stuff here. Also, Arthur celebrates community, the long-standing Arthur thing. I still don't really know what animal Arthur is. I can never really tell what animals any of them are in Arthur. But Arthur has some good educational stuff to it as well. And there are 8 stories here, including Binky can't always get what he wants, which is a hysterical line, but it's actually a really good show. It's very that's good. So I just think Binky. Partly what makes me laugh is a friend of mine refers to Facebook as well. He refers basically to Binky is his nickname for everything that goes on Facebook. Anything goes wrong, he blames Binky. Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, also very sweet. This is Won't You Be Our Neighbor? And this is 5 stories from the Daniel Tiger line. It's nicely animated. It's very warm, very storybook looking. And then the last one, which I like the best, is Splash and Bubbles. You can never do wrong with fish, or as far as I'm concerned, whether it's Nemo and Dory or the Bubble Guppies, anything to do with fish and underwater, I'm down with, as long as it's not the Aquaman movie. This is 6 episodes from Splash and Bubbles under the title The Kelp Forest, and really sweet couple of fish, very nicely animated, good CGI animation from PBS Kids. And then the last 2 kid vid titles are from Nickelodeon. And the first one is Paw Patrol Jungle Rescues. Boys love Paw Patrol. My daughter, other girls don't really get into it quite so much, but there are 7 adventures here. And Paw Patrol are basically looking to figure out the mystery of the Monkey Queen and a few other things. And it gets a little far-fetched, but you know what? Boys love it. And then lastly, Butterbeans Cafe is a new Nickelodeon series. And this includes 7 stories from Butterbeans Cafe. I actually kind of like this. My daughter's not into it yet, but I could see her getting into it because as I left today, she was cooking with Mommy and really starting. And this is kind of her first real cooking experience, making buttery pancakes and really enjoying it. So I think that she will eventually learn to enjoy this. This is basically culinary fairies is the only way that I could put it. Butterbeans Cafe, culinary fairies, very clever, very sweet, and actually surprisingly well written. So check out Butterbeans Cafe. This is the very, very first DVD release for that new Nickelodeon series.
A couple of more newbies. I thought this film would have done better than it did. I remember talking about it on the radio show. The Long Shot, Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron in this movie. They had chemistry in this film, which completely surprised me.
Yeah.
That they actually had this sort of oddball chemistry. She was incredibly funny in the film. Basically, she's playing a woman who's a presidential candidate. She hires this guy, Fred Flarsky, which is such a Seth Rogen character name. This is Seth and Evan Goldberg writing here. So, and he turns out to have been someone she babysitted when he was about 10 and she was about 13.
Oh, that's getting a little twisted.
And then had a little weird crush on her and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And, flash forward 30 years, and that's all plays back into the story that's going on. It's a little political. It's a little sharp. One of the mistakes that it makes is that it only pokes fun at the conservative side.
Yeah.
Well, that's always a mistake. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what you want to do if you're going to make one of these movies, particularly if you happen to be kind of liberal, progressive, whatever. Poke fun at yourself.
Yeah.
Poke fun at your side. Primary colors.
Okay. Good point.
That's funny. But they're taking down their own side. Yeah. The other side will be ridiculous by comparison. But that's what you want to do. You don't want to poke fun at the other side. That's easy. It's easy to take pot shots when nobody can shoot back.
My favorite, now that you mentioned it, my favorite line in Primary Colors is that rant by Billy Bob Thornton about how he's more black. He's so black he can taste it. Right? How that line goes. That is just an absolutely brilliant line and so well delivered.
You
remember that line?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you can't write that line anymore.
No, you can't.
Now you're going to get a note from the studio. Write that line, you're going to get a note from the studio. Anyway, The Long Shot, a Blu-ray, DVD, and digital with all kinds of neat stuff in terms of special features, too. So if you didn't see it in theaters, give it a shot anyway. It's still funny. I mean, I'm poking at it now, but it's actually a very funny movie, and Charlize and Seth have a great deal of chemistry together. Shazam! This was an interesting thing to me because, you had Captain Marvel earlier in the year and then Shazam right after it, right? Now, you and I both know, we go back long enough to remember when they were the same person.
Right.
When
totally.
Shazam was something that Billy said to turn himself into Captain Marvel.
That's yes.
And then there was this whole thing with comic books.
Well,
and they went,
Shazam stood. They reinterpreted it so that each letter stood for a different one of the elders. Right. They there was Saturn and Hercules and Zeus and Athena, and it was each letter stood for somebody. And Achilles.
Yeah.
Achilles was in there. Achilles, Zeus, Athena, and whoever the M was. But yeah. Boy,
it's complicated how these broke. It had to do with a comic book that went out of business a long time ago, and then but the characters got bought by the other side, and they took them and split them up, and
I still think that DC should have just disobeyed. Just take the fine and just say we're going to keep calling it Captain Marvel.
Yeah, because
you have a Captain Marvel, we got a Captain Marvel. There can be two Captain Marvels.
And maybe
anyway.
That all said, this was funny.
It's a fun film.
This film cracked me up.
It's not faithful in any way.
No, in any way to anything.
It's basically big.
It's big
with superpowers.
Yeah. But
it's still
Jack
fun.
Dylan Grazer playing it. So anyway,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fun. This movie, all kinds of stuff on this DVD. 90 minutes worth of fancy new stuff. But the movie itself is just pretty damn funny. So check it out. Everything Blu-ray, digital, DVD. With that
4K
and 4K.
Yeah.
Little. Which was a cute little film that came out early in the year.
No one paid attention.
No one paid any attention to it, which was unfortunate. Regina Hall, who was so funny in Support the Girls, and really proves her chops. Basically, this too is kind of a big smash up with Freaky Friday kind of thing. You got this little girl when we meet her, and she's bullied in school, and she grows up to be Regina Hall, a real sort of an a-hole of a boss at this company, and she has Issa Rae working for her, who is funny in this movie, and then she is turned into this little girl, and she spends the rest of the movie. There's a weird motif in this movie that freaked me out that I did not care for, because she is in fact an adult inside the body of a little girl. Regina Hall inside the body of this little girl. She still has all of the desires and interests of an adult woman, and which include these really fine brothers walking around this movie. Now, here's the problem. That's still a little girl, and she's like jonesing on these really fine dudes and like saying things and moving around. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with any of this. But those jokes are all in the movie. And they're funny, but no, don't care for those jokes. There's all kinds of bonus features on this, including a gag reel. It's a funny movie, but that was just sort of weird.
All right, Body at Brighton Rock.
Body at Brighton Rock.
Body at Brighton Rock. I'm going to tell you right now. I had to review that for Film Week. You know what? We had a bit of disagreement on Film Week over it.
Who were you with?
I think it was on with Christy. I think Christy liked it. Anyway, it's a super low budget movie. It takes place in a national park about a ranger girl who she's a bit nerdy, and she's on her patrol, and she goes off and finds a body, and winds up being kind of stranded and stuck with this body until people can arrive, and then weird things happen that don't make sense. And I kid you not, when the thing ends, they try to do some kind of an M. Night Shyamalan-y twisty thing at the end, and it's so bad because truly it makes no sense. Like normally the twist makes you go, now I get it. This twist makes you go, wait, what? And then the movie ends, and to this day, I have no idea what's going on at the end of this movie. It's very frustrating. I give them props. You made it. You went out into the mountains with a film crew, and you made a movie, a feature film. You got it released. You got it on the Blu-ray. I still don't know what your movie means.
Yeah, little girl power kind of thing, I think, is what's going on in this movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
Commentary with Roxanne Benjamin, the director of this movie, directed a couple of other thrillers. So,
makes no sense.
But in fact,
the film makes no sense.
Body at Brighton Rock. Not a few special features, including a commentary with the director.
Which does not explain anything.
What's going on in the movie?
No, it does not explain anything. It doesn't explain anything. I need more.
Doug's hot dog movie. It says on the back of this. This is it's a doc about this hot dog joint. Named by Anthony Bourdain as one of the 13 places you must eat before you die. which is a little ironic that he said that, but he ate there and then he died. So apparently he got it right. Anyway, it's a fairly cute movie where we meet this guy Doug, who has this particular affection for hot dogs, and opens up this hot dog stand and all the customers who come there and why they love it and what they love about hot dogs. It's just a goofy movie about hot dogs.
I'm
like
getting hungry,
but I don't think I'd need.
I'm hungry.
See a whole movie about it. Nevertheless, funny. If you want to do that kind of thing. Serenity, you remember when we saw this movie?
I do. We saw it do it together. And I think we have the same reaction to it, which is...
it's a mess.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
And
Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway.
It's an ambitious mess, though. I mean, it really, really... it very self-consciously tries to spin a fascinating kind of Hitchcockian thriller
slash noir.
It's a little noir, a little Hitchcock. Yeah, it's sort of but ultimately, it's too coy about what it's not telling you, and what it's not showing you, and what it's hiding. And and by the time it sort of tries to hit you with an uppercut at the end, it just doesn't have it. It hasn't earned it.
Yeah, and two easy fixes in this movie too. I mean, we talked about it. There were two easy fixes. I'm not going to say what they are because they'll be obvious when you see the movie. One of them would have to do with getting rid of this sort of sci-fi thing that's going on. In the movie, just get rid of all that together and just tell this story.
Yeah,
just tell the story. A little boy, this woman, her husband, femme fatale, all that kind of stuff. And it sort of works out the way it works out. You didn't really need any of that sort of hitty kind of stuff going on in it. And then
I like the sort of the island setting of it. That's the one thing I like. The Matthew McConaughey and the boats and the tropics and
a bit of a Truman Showish kind of thing going on.
I like the kind of Caribbean-ish. The South Pacific-y island setting. That was nice. It made me feel like it was a little bit of Magnum P.I. going on. And if you're going to do Magnum P.I., you should probably cast Matthew McConaughey as the new Magnum P.I. For a film.
For a film, anyway. Not surprised, but not a whole lot of special features on that one. Yeah. Great cast, though. Jason Clarke, Jean Hanchu, Diane Lane. I mean, if you build a movie with a cast like that, you hope.
It's unfortunate.
Sometimes the cast will not save you. Another one that didn't do as well as folks had thought it might or anticipated it would be was Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah, a little dent on the James Cameron cred there.
Yes,
he didn't direct it.
Producers of Avatar, but he didn't direct it. Yeah. Look, it's as an action sort of. The problem here is you have live action combined with this particular character that is the sort of live action / CGI created character. And she can, she's a leader, she's a badass, she can do all this kind of stuff. It's a great adventure about a cyborg, but it just didn't mesh for me. That character, was never in the room, in the scene with those humans.
Yeah,
never.
Yeah,
and I'm watching this, and I'm just like, you're not there. You're the one who's not there, and it's just, and you never will be there. The only way to be there is to actually be there. And I don't know. I'm never going to fall for this stuff. I just don't think it's meant for me. Anyway, this is dense with over 2 hours worth of all kinds of special features that folks who are a fan of not just the genre but the character will enjoy. But it did not work for me. Blu-ray, DVD, digital, whole shebang. One over there?
Yeah, let me hit a few Asian titles here. Got some good foreign language Asian titles here. First one is Master Z, Ip Man Legacy with Max Zhang, Dave Bautista making a trip over to China to show up and make a little cameo here. Michelle Yeoh and Tony Jaa, amazing cast. Yeah, that's a great cast. Directed by Yuen Woo-ping. Amazing, brilliant Yuen Woo-ping, who, of course, launched Jackie Chan's career originally with the original Drunken Master and choreographed everything from The Matrix to the Kill Bill films. Anyway, so Yuen Woo-ping, who has worked with Michelle Yeoh previously and directed her in the Tai Chi Master with Jet Li, a lot of other great stuff. So Yuen Woo-ping directs the daylights out of this thing. The fighting is fantastic. It's great. It's brilliant. Dave Bautista is perfectly cast. If you would imagine, if Dave Bautista weren't in this, like if anyone else had made this story, they would have put Mike Tyson in there.
Yeah.
But we don't have Mike Tyson in here.
Yeah.
We got Dave Bautista. Yeah. And that's better casting. Yeah. He's not as good a fighter as Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But he's a better actor.
Better actor, yeah. Mike is fun to look at, but he never could act.
Yeah. But anyway, basically this is a spin-off from the Ip Man films. A guy who's been defeated by Ip Man, played by Max Zhang, plays Chung Tin Chi. He goes to kind of restart his life, and it's the usual thing. He was trying to live a peaceful life, and they pull him back in. He's got to fight again. It's the usual. But Michelle Yeoh is wonderful. Dave Bautista is wonderful. Tony Jaa is great. Not a great actor, but an amazing physical presence. And Max Zhang is just surrounded by so many great people. All he has to do is just stay at everybody else's level, and it's all great. Really fun film. That's from Well Go. It includes a dub track in it, which you should not watch. Has some behind-the-scenes stuff and trailers, but otherwise, terrific Blu-ray. Going a little bit back further in martial arts history is Taiwanese director, the legendary Taiwanese director King Hu, made one of his best films with The Fate of Li Kan. And this is from Film Movement Classics. It is a wonderful welcome release from Film Movement Classics. I'm so thrilled that they're doing this. They licensed this from Fortune Star over in Hong Kong, and what a great transfer. It's colorful, it's bright. King Hu's movies always felt like to me at least, felt like like John Ford movies of Asia.
Yeah.
They have the same widescreen quality, the same sort of epic tapestry, the color, the quality of the color. It's really, really great. And this is also one of the earliest and most famous female empowerment kung fu films. And it is a powerful female cast. You've had strong women in these films in the past, but in this one, you got Lily Hua, Angela Mao. It's basically a Western in the sense that the dynasty is oppressive and they're fighting the dynastic powers of the Yuan dynasty. But it is rebels versus whatever. But everything here was choreographed by Sammo Hung when he was just starting out as well, when he and Jackie Chan were starting out, before he had really made a name for himself. And it is absolutely terrific. Wonderful Joseph Koo music. If you're a fan of this genre, this is one of the all-time classics. Can't recommend it highly enough. Really, really great. Also includes a discussion from the New York Asian Film Festival and an essay by Stephen Tao. And then a few others here. Let's see. We've got more recent film, The Swindlers. This is also from Well Go. The Swindlers is a pretty straightforward crime story. A little bit in the vein of Infernal Affairs. Obviously not as good as Infernal Affairs, but it's all about kind of how to trap a con man and a team that has to come together to take down a notorious con man. Some really, really good performances here. Solid film, not brilliant, but solid. Similarly good is The Island. The Island is a little bit wackier, a little funnier. It's the kind of film that I usually don't necessarily like because it's one of these new generation of big budget, kind of dunderheaded Chinese epics they're just trying to copy big budget things from Hollywood. But that said, they play this tongue in cheek enough that you can sort of laugh at it. So as long as they're not playing it straight, you can enjoy this. And I guess you could say it splits the difference somewhere between Indiana Jones and The Hangover, which I know sounds weird, but it's silly, it's adventurous, it involves a meteorite that may strike the Earth, it involves possibly winning the lottery, and a whole bunch of stuff that really doesn't belong in the same movie, and yet somehow it all kind of plays out in a rather silly way. So it's The Island. Shu Kei is in it, which is maybe why I like it so much, because I'm incapable of disliking anything that Shu Kei is in. All the rest of the guys, I can take them or leave them. And the last one is an absolutely brilliant movie. I am very sad that this didn't get more play here. It is Cohen Media Group's Blu-ray release of Ash is the Purest White, the new film from Jia Zhangke, to whom we gave the LAFCA Award for Best Foreign Language Film a few years ago for A Touch of Sin. Jia is probably the of his generation. He's the first real artist to emerge from Chinese independent cinema since Zhang Yimou and Shen Kaiga and the directors of the fifth generation. This is an absolutely devastating, powerful movie. It's over 2 hours, as most of his films are, and it centers around an unfortunate crime that is an act of devotion and loyalty, and the punishment that ensues, and what dovetails afterwards. And I wouldn't call it a revenge story. It is a story about, as most of Zhang Zhike's movies are, it's a story about bureaucracy in China, the price of a society that has perhaps lost its moral bearings. And that's what I will say about it. It is a really powerful film. Obviously not as ambitious as something like A Touch of Sin, but certainly not far away. So that is Ash is the Purest White. Definitely check that out on Blu-ray.
A few more over here.
Yeah.
So this is a movie called Run, which is slightly interesting. Josiah David Warren directed this movie. So it's about this guy, young businessman, marries a young woman who's a reporter on human trafficking, young beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Played by Taylor Murphy. Now, she goes and does this investigation of this sort of sex trafficking organization, and it doesn't occur to her that as a young beautiful woman, this might not be a good idea. That's what happens. She gets kidnapped, and it's in the process of being sold into human slavery because you know what? Sex traffickers are assholes. The hit guy here is played by Stephen Baldwin. I think all the Baldwins can only play villains now. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So you had Billy Baldwin, you had Alec, obviously, and this is Stephen Baldwin. There was a point, middle 90s, early 90s, middle 90s, and there were all these handsome young leading men who played heroes. And now they're not. and they all play bad guys. That's all they play in movies.
That is really interesting.
Anyway,
I hadn't thought of that.
This is a fairly decent movie. What's weird about it, also, given the subject matter, is that it's approved by Dove, the Dove organization, who usually sort of give their stamp of approval to these sort
movies about kids and animals.
Maybe some quasi faith-based kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, they looked at this movie about human sex trafficking with Billy Baldwin playing this absolutely atrocious guy and thought, yeah, this is one of ours for the family. Right. And I'm like, I don't think so. Nevertheless, Run, approved by the Dove organization. They got it. Trace Atkins is in two movies that I have in hand here. One is called Wild Faith, which is a little bit interesting, set right after the Civil War, but mostly in the state of Michigan. We think about the Civil War, we think about the South all the time. This is about a soldier, Union soldier, just at the end of the war, wants to go back home to Michigan, but he made this promise to this black Union soldier, to take care of his family, to bring his family out of the South to come live with him in Michigan. So he does, and it turns out to be a more arduous thing than you would think, because in Michigan, this black woman with her son and this white Civil War veteran are still not going down that well. So, but an interesting setting with an interesting story, featuring Trace Atkins. So we bump over to The Outsider, which is a film that stars Trace Atkins. Now, Trace Atkins is a country singer. Well, I'm thinking not anymore.
Yeah.
I'm thinking because, you see Trace on lots of stuff.
Sure.
Because he has that voice, sounds like Leghorn, Farghorn. So he's just putting that to work now. I think Trace is actually a cowboy actor. Nevertheless, here again, we have this sort of interesting movie about revenge. Small town. He plays the sheriff, or the marshal, technically speaking, is trying to control this small town where everybody's corrupt and doing all sorts of terrible things. You got Sean Patrick Flannery here. You got Danny Trejo here. If you're ever wondering what these guys are doing when Danny's not selling tacos all around town,
vegetarian tacos,
vegan tacos. Danny, really?
Yeah.
Okay, if he says so. You wonder where these guys go. This is where they go. They go and they make movies like this. This is actually an okay little film. Not fantastic, but if you're into sort of, funky westerns with a lot of shootouts and stuff like that, this will get you over the hump.
Which there's some of that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, too.
Exactly.
I want him to look like a hippie.
When he comes out with that,
you know who that was playing Sam Wanamaker?
Oh, who was that?
That was Nicholas Hammond.
Oh, really?
I know. It took me a minute too. So yeah, the director Sam Wanamaker.
With the hair, he looked just like Wanamaker.
Director Sam Wanamaker in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes in working with, and I'm like, why do I know that guy? I don't know. And then it took me a minute. I'm like, holy cow! It's Nicholas Hammond from Sound of Music and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
there he is.
That's so funny.
Great casting.
Funny. Great casting. Man, well, the casting of that movie, except for, and we're going on a little aside here, Damian Lewis, I think it was, who played Steve McQueen for that few seconds.
Yeah.
Not right.
You know,
he's older than Steve McQueen is now. He's older now than Steve McQueen was when he died.
Yeah. You know, here's the funny thing. A lot of people have been posting pictures of Damian Lewis with a picture of a young Steve McQueen. And it may actually be the only picture ever taken of Steve McQueen where he looks like Damian Lewis.
It has to be.
Because they're bending over backwards to find the one.
Yeah.
So like, oh, look, don't they look a lot alike?
Yeah, that day.
That day.
But at no other time in either one of their careers. Has a funny line in that movie, though. The funny line in that movie. So plainly, Sharon Tate's likes little men who look like 12-year-old boys, and Damian Lewis, Steve McQueen says, "I never had a shot."
Yeah,
that was hysterical to me. So many wonderful little jokes in that movie. Breakthrough, which is loosely based on a true story, a sort of quasi-faith-based film. About a little boy who drowns in a lake, and his mother prays for him to come back from the brink of death, and the miracle happens and all of that. All fine. A lovely little movie put together nicely. Josh Lucas, Topher Grace, Mike Coulter in the film, Dennis Haysbert in the film. Most interestingly, it's directed by Roxanne Dawson. Roxanne Dawson played B'Elanna Torres on the Star Trek. Well, played lots of wonderful actors from way back in the day, but she played B'Elanna Torres on what was it? I guess that would have been Voyager that she was on back there. So interesting that she has go look her up. She has a really wonderful career, Roxanne, after all those years on television as a director. And I just want to point out that there's a track for these folks to take, for women to take, and they're sort of establishing themselves very solidly doing this thing. So this is a nice little inspiring film for the whole family. Bugged me a little bit. This movie, the mom in this movie, who's being played by Chrissy Metz.
Yeah,
she was kind of irritating. Totally. The character that she's playing was irritating. With her, and I'm like, I get what you're doing here for your boy and all that kind of stuff, but you know what? You're being a little bitchy.
So this next one that you just pulled out,
Missing Link.
Now let me tell you something about Missing Link. This is why this is funny, because I have a friend staying with me right now. SIGGRAPH is going on right now at the LA Convention Center. Yeah. SIGGRAPH is a whole digital Hollywood kind of digital everything. Anyway, so a friend of mine is staying with me, who is amazing CGI artist. He was one of the guys who animated Gollum. He lived in New Zealand, worked for Weta for years on Lord of the Rings films and on King Kong. He did stuff for Rhythm and Hues. In any case, he's working for Leica right now, and he worked on this.
Oh, really?
Every bird he animated. Now, mind you, Leica is a stop motion company.
Yeah,
but they have a digital wing. And he was telling me just last night, we're just sitting there just talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I animate every bird in Missing Link is mine. Every bird. He did every bird in Missing Link."
That's funny. Funny. A decent movie. Did okay. Hugh Jackman, Zoe Saldana,
it was released
Zach
by
Galifianakis.
Annapurna. That was the problem.
Yeah, didn't know the marketing.
Didn't
understand the marketing for it. I think Hugh Jackman plays this adventurer who goes out on these fantastic. He's funny as heck. Yeah. And the character is funny, and he is funny as a character. Zoe Saldana is sort of a death-defying assistant, and then Zach playing this quote-unquote missing link, which is why it's funny because people look at when they would look at this artwork of that particular character. And they would be like, "Yeah, what is he? A gorilla? Is he?" I'm like, "No, he's not a gorilla. If he were a gorilla, he wouldn't be a missing link."
Exactly, he is a missing link.
He can't be anything that we know, which is why he doesn't look like anything that we know. That's the title. But you know what? Some people are dense. Nevertheless, certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm just looking at a picture of Sam Wanamaker right now. He moved when he was an actor. He moved to the UK because he was afraid of being blacklisted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Then he came back and directed a lot of really kind of epic television in the 60s and 70s. I mean, it's kind of mad. He directed all the way into the 80s. The last thing he did was a Columbo TV movie.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
It's amazing, these folks. You look at them, how much of that material we watched but didn't know we were watching. Yeah. That particular material by that particular guy.
Yeah.
Sam Wanamaker. That hair always cracked me the hell up.
Yeah. I got the line from Primary Colors too, by the way.
I
had to look that up. I had to look it up. Billy Bob Thornton playing Richard Jemmons, basically a thinly veiled version of
Jimmy Carvell.
James Carvell.
Yeah.
You just called me a redneck, which I'm proud to say I am. And you, Hodgkiss, are a honky. You just look black, and it's the best part of you. Lets you intimidate the pale faces, especially lib labs. Lets you work that voodoo sexual on white girls. Well, I'm probably blacker than you are. I got some slave in me. I can feel it.
Can't write
That is,
any
you
of that
can't
into a
write
script
any of that
today.
today.
No. Can't make. Oh man.
The development executives would lose their minds.
Oh, they were like, oh, are you kidding me? The notes. Talk about the notes. Oh my God. Mountain Rest with Francis Conroy, which is actually a very good and poignant movie. It has a lot to do with, in common with, say, Woody Allen's September.
Yep. It sure does.
It's about this actress, elderly actress who's moved off to this mountain. She's estranged from her daughter and her granddaughter, but she wants them to come and see her, so that they can put some things to rest. And it's just a pretty sort of heavy drama, but it's moving in an Ingmar Bergman film kind of way. And Frances Conroy, what can one say about her? She's absolutely fantastic. Special features include interviews and deleted scenes and the trailer.
Fantastic. Shall we do TV? Yeah, let's jump into the TV.
Well, I'll do this. I'll do this set right here for sure because you know how I am about my Doctor Who. So from the BBC, a number of seasons of Doctor Who. Let me see if I can put them in order to speak to here. So we have, let's see, Doctor Who, The Time Meddler. This is from the William Hartnell years, 1963, 1966. I adore all of the Doctor Who's. They're all fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, I have no issues with any Doctor Who's. I happen to be a Tom Baker man.
Yeah.
But I love the series during this period. It changed a lot from when William played the character to the way it worked. The granddaughter stuff went away as we sort of moved forward into the series. But these are still really wonderful episodes. These are almost all on set, these William Hartnell years series. DVD extras are just packed here, including audio commentary from the producer Verity Lambert and Peter Purvis and so many other people, Donald Tothberry. So, if you're Doctor Who completist, you're definitely going to want that. Also, in that pack, we pop over to Patrick Troughton, 1966, 1969, came in right after Will Hartnell. This is when we got to meet the Daleks, I believe, when he was there. Again, packed with all sorts of stuff. Series was still in black and white at this period, and a lot of fun. Then we pop over to Sean Pertwee, who I also love. I love that Sean Pertwee's son plays Alfred, the butler on Gotham.
Yeah.
Because he looks now exactly like his father did in 1970, 74. And I always thought to myself, put a wig on him and wrap it and put him in that sort of dandy outfit that John Pertwee used to wear, and he would be a perfect little reboot of that. This one is kind of neat because it crosses over a little bit between Troughton and Hartnell and Pertwee. We see that that thing that the Doctor does, and then we have the straight up John Pertwee years, 1970, 1974, Planet of the Spiders. That series was absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, for me, 1974, 1981, the Tom Baker years, Doctor Who, The Sunmakers, which, again, was a fantastic series that went on there. Included in that series is the character Layla, who is this female sort of barbarian jungle girl that the Doctor picks up on one of his travels. And I really, really loved her character coming into the series because it marked a transition from treating the women sort of like as girls who fall down and just sort of like ran around behind the Doctor and screamed a lot. Her character changed all of that. And as we move forward to having a female Doctor today, you can start to see that transition here with Layla's character. She had a knife, and she simply wanted to kill everything.
There you go.
And I'm like, yeah, that's my kind of girl. You think it through, Doc. When you're done over there, I'm going to stab it. You got to love that.
So the second season of Titans is about to premiere on September 6th, and I didn't even know that this existed. And I pride myself on keeping track of all of the Berlanti stuff that all the DC Universe Berlanti
Greg
stuff.
Berlanti, yeah.
Supergirl and all the Arrowverse stuff. Supergirl and Batwoman is now added. The Flash, obviously, I'm obsessed with, and Arrow and then I discovered that there's this thing called Titans. I had no idea. It was on TNT. I absolutely no clue that this show even existed. It's the strangest thing. But here it is. And first season is out on Blu-ray. And you know what? It's actually quite good. It's not part of the Arrowverse. It is. It seems to be nominally connected to Gotham. So they're not. It's not all a single universe, obviously, with all the TV shows. Although it does seem like the new Alfred show on Starz is connected to Gotham. Yeah. With Alfred as the young spy guy. But anyway, this is basically Teen Titans as a show. They've started with 4, a very simple 4, which is Robin, obviously the Dick Grayson Robin, along with Raven and Beast Boy and Starfire. And the first season is very premium, 11 episodes. It's an 11-episode arc. It's very impressive. It's really well put together. Akiva Goldsman worked on this with Greg Berlanti and Jeff Johns. So it's a good team of people. And I think it's sharp, and I can't wait to see where they go with this show.
Interesting.
It also includes 13 featurettes to go along with the 11 episodes. So I recommend checking that out.
BB from the BBC, just another extraordinary. This is the eighth season of Call the Midwife.
Yeah,
it's just another outstanding, excellent British series. They do them like nobody else can do them.
I know.
Particularly the ones that are set. I'm particularly coming. I mean, sure, you had your Downton Abbey set in the 30s and 40s, but the stuff that's set in the 60s, that mod pop era, where things were just sort of transitioning all over the world, but certainly in the UK, and women were coming into their own power, and the women's movement was underway. Those are the really interesting shows that they watch here, and very interesting sort of scenarios pop up in this series. So this is season 8. It's really, really good. Call the Midwives. You can't go wrong with that. Blu-ray and digital, Lonesome Dove. Man, this series, this television miniseries is what it was when it came out. It was just really an extraordinary. It was like watching an old school Western, but on television. It was so true and so real. Tommy Lee Jones, Robert Duvall, Danny Glover, Diane Lane, Robert Urich. Robert Urich still had hair back then. That was that was lovely too. Anyway, really, really great series, mostly directed by Simon Windsor. Bonus features include the making of the epic series and the casting interviews and original sketches, and you're on location with him. Lonesome Dove, just a beautiful movie. A beautiful Western television series. Forever Night, the complete series. This was an interesting concept for a series. Basically, you got yourself a 13th century vampire living in present-day Toronto. He doesn't want to be a vampire anymore, but he is. But he decides one way that he can do to atone for his previous life and perhaps achieve the possibility of reverting to humanity is by becoming a cop and being a good cop and take it, but he's still a vampire. That's a good idea for a television series.
That is a cool idea.
I think so. Anyway, it lasted 3 seasons, 70 episodes. They're all in this box.
That's a good premise.
That's a good premise. They're all in this box. Forever Night, the complete series.
We've got Murdoch Mysteries Season 12 on Blu-ray from Acorn and Acorn TV. Look, this is basically a British detective show. Yeah, I know it's Canadian, it's set in Toronto, but it might as well not be. If this were set in 1895 London instead of 1895 Toronto, it'd be the exact same show.
The exact same show.
No different.
I always enjoyed the Murdoch Mystery. He's basically sort of Sherlock Holmes, but not.
Yeah.
And all that sort of period stuff is going on there.
It's fun. And you know what? 12 seasons, it still sings. It still hums. Everybody knows their characters. Everybody's really, really right on the money. And the nice thing about this show is that it continues to it touches on a lot of the really interesting forensic developments that happen kind of turn of the century. It's like, early CSI.
Just that point as
they're starting to integrate science into the deductive
and
aspect
again, they enfranchised women in that show. They gave us the central coroner was a woman, and then she has a little sister. And so I love the way they were bright about doing that.
It's a good show. 18 episodes in season 12. They just keep on trucking. This is one of the best things on Canadian and British TV. Here's a show that I didn't know existed. This is a Netflix show. Everything gets lost on Netflix. This is Tim Cogshell's worst nightmare. It is BoJack Horseman.
I'm sorry, those talking animals.
I will never forget. I can't even remember what movie it was, but this was years ago. It was right after we first met, and you expressed how much anthropomorphized cartoon characters drive you crazy.
And the ones that are only part like Scooby-Doo. Yeah. Look, if he can talk, he can talk. What the hell is that dog doing? It's bad enough that you got the talking dog. That dog ain't even talking. No, it's horrible.
Well, BoJack Horseman is this weird weird animated show. 25 episodes in first 2 seasons together on this boxed set now. It is a collector's edition. It is seasons 1 and 2.
I know that show is meant to be a little dark and depressing, and just
it's supposed to be very 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 kind of Adult Swim-ish.
Yeah,
it's going for the Adult Swim audience, and the idea here is that in some weird alternative universe, it's okay, like kind of animals and animal-human hybrids, and we all live together, and nobody seems to really notice.
Yeah.
And Bojack Horseman is this dude, basically a dude with a head of a horse, who's having a midlife crisis. Like if Homer Simpson weren't quite so ridiculous and had the head of a horse, and we're like a character from Seinfeld or the Bob Newhart show. That's what he is. You know what he is? He's basically Bill Daly from the Bob Newhart show. That's what he is, with the head of a horse.
Yeah,
it's the weirdest thing in the world.
And a little on the depressed side.
So there are commentaries on here. Don't help you understand what's going on. And I
think all those guys, all those animators and writers are just avoiding going to therapy. Rather than go to therapy, they make that cartoon.
It's a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of King of the Hill in some aspects. And it certainly has that same kind of acerbic quality to it. So it's a little Mike Judgy, but hey, do I want to watch any more of it? Not really, but
it's funny, but it left me a little depressed.
Yeah,
every episode. I'm like, this is funny, but I don't feel good about myself.
Yeah, I hear you. And then the complete first season of Manifest, another new series that just went completely under my radar.
Yeah,
this is a Warner Brothers series that it means to be kind of a nostalgic show, like we might have had in the 80s, maybe early 80s, late 70s is kind of what it seems to harken to. But I'm not sure that it really kind of pulls it off. It wants to split that with Lost.
Yeah.
Right? It wants to be
trying
like
to do that Losty kind of thing. What happened? What's going on?
Falcon Crest meets Lost.
Yeah,
maybe is what's going on here. It centers on this maybe Airplane.
Yeah,
it's a touch of Airplane in here too, right?
Yeah,
Lost meets Airplane.
Yeah. Because the plane disappears. It's gone for 5 years, something like that, and then comes back, and everybody on the plane is the same age as they were when the plane disappeared. So something wacky's going on.
It's a good cast, but Lost.
And they never. The thing that bugged me about that series, and Lost too, for that matter.
Yeah,
is they never really get to it. They never really just say, "This is what happened, folks."
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to be left dangling like that. You start a story like this. I want you to take me home, get me across the finish line. Yeah. Lost didn't do it.
No.
And
they didn't know where they were going.
They didn't know where they were going, and so Lindoff
rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole,
and then next thing you know, you're just in the damn rabbit hole.
As long as we got right at the end of the show here, let me just make a quick mention of an anime. We got a bunch of anime that we're going to hold off until next week, but Shout keeps giving us some really, really great anime titles thanks to G-Kids. Shout and G-Kids have a thing going on right now together. And there are other arrangements that Shout is making with other companies so that they can bolster all of their animation and anime bona fides. And one of them is a really interesting movie called Penguin Highway. This is a completely beautiful movie I had no idea even existed. It's one of the most interesting anime films that I've seen in the last 20 years, I would say at least. And as much anime always does, it often does, it deals with kids. And in this case, these are like kid scientists living in the suburb, way far away from the ocean, and penguins start appearing. And and of course it winds up, they have to sort of do the thing that kids do in Stranger Things and everything else. They got to get to the bottom of the mystery, so it does have that quality to it. But there's more to it. Like, it's very symbolic. This is almost an allegory, and I won't tell as anime and a lot of Japanese stuff often is, allegory is a big part of it. The number 1,000 volume of the Criterion Collection is coming out, and it's going to be all the Godzilla movies on Criterion, right?
Yeah.
Well, Godzilla is an allegory too.
Yeah. They kind of forgot about that in the middle 80s and 2000s.
Yes, they did.
And then they,
we got to get back to that.
About nuclear war.
But Penguin Highway is a beautiful, beautiful movie. It is really sweet. It's touching. It's lovely. They include an interview with the director, Hiroyasu Ishida. not terribly well known to me at least. The author of the original material, and it's really lovely. So Penguin Highway, check that out on a Blu-ray DVD combo set from Shout Factory. With that, we are done, and we will see you guys next week.
Go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. In Hollywood, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Is that about right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, worth it.